This is Julie. David's pre-programmed sex slave, I mean robot, I mean android. Yes, I am an android, and you are listening to BlissVille. Wait a minute, I can't read it. To play us out, what does that mean? To play us out? I can't do it. I'll write it, and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks.
All right, go.
In 5, 4, 3.
Fucking thing sucks. Fucking thing sucks.
I can't do it.
I don't know what that means to play us out. What does that mean? Fucking thing sucks. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. I can't do it. Fucking thing sucks. What does that mean? To play us out. We'll do it live.
I can't do it.
Fucking thing sucks. I can't do it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Fucking thing sucks. Fucking. I don't know what that means to play us out. What does that mean? Fucking thing sucks. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. I can't do it. Fucking thing to play us out. I can't do it. We'll do it live. Fuck it. To play us out. Sucks. We'll do it live. To play us out. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Fucking thing sucks. I don't know what that means to play us out. What does that mean? Fucking thing sucks. Fucking thing sucks. Fucking thing sucks.
Yo, Bill. Yo, Bill. Yo, Bill. I like you. Hey, no, I'm serious. Why you think I'm playing? I'm not playing. I like you. Even when you do all that shit. People like, why the fuck you do all that? What's up, son? I like you. You an angry motherfucker. Why you so angry? Why you hate? I like you. You a greasy motherfucker. You a human. You a person. I got some seeds. You wanna sow my seeds, Bill? Everybody be hating on you. Ain't that a bitch? Yo, Bill. Yo, Bill. Yo, Bill. I think I love you. Fuck it. Fuck it! I like Trump Sanders. Fuck it! And so do you, bitch. Fuck it! You remind me of my mama. Fuck it! Up in the projects. Son, you so angry? Why you so mad? I'm gonna find me a cheeseburger. I'm gonna call it my big beefy burger. You a fat bitch in a skinny white bitch body, ain't ya? Ain't ya? Yo, Bill. Come Come over here. Come over here. You ain't gonna come over here, is you? Ain't that a bitch?
I'm just a virgin. This is my first time. Please be gentle.
We owe $70 trillion.
I understand that, but
Those
you
due
can't
to
sit
walk
here
out a
and say-
$4 trillion solution, which is basically just a way for the Democrats to avoid dealing with this until 2017. I'm not here to talk about plans to deal with this till 2017. I'm saying we've got a real problem, and I'm tired of Republicans and Democrats who either want Republicans who want to burn the place to the ground, and Democrats, with all due respect, who want to offer a plan that gets it through their end of their second term of their presidency, and then screws me and my kids when it's over. And until we do that, we have to deal with the extraction that is at foot. It is the reason the financial markets are behaving the way they're behaving. That is a mathematical fact. This is not some opinion. This is a mathematical fact. Tens of trillions of dollars are being extracted from the United States of America. Democrats aren't doing it. Republicans are not doing it. An entire integrated system, financial system, trading system, taxing system that was created by both parties over a period of 2 decades is at work on our entire country right now. And we're sitting here arguing about whether we should do the $4 trillion plan that kicks the can down the road for the president for 2017 or burn the place to the ground, both of which are reckless, irresponsible, and stupid.
All right. Well, I guess unsurprisingly, I was raised as a liberal. My mother was a liberal and a Democrat, a very staunch Democrat at a time when it wasn't popular, which was the Reagan era, which was the 80s. She actively campaigned for Walter Mondale in 1984 when we were living in Tennessee. I remember this because we went to their campaign headquarters in Nashville, and it was just one small room.
Except for you guys.
There was 2 people. One person with a phone and one person with a notepad. And this was how they did it back then. They didn't have, like, robocalls. They didn't have, cell phone and these computers that they had.
One guy who made all the calls.
What I suspect is that at times when, like, liberal politics were using the idea of multiculturalism, she would abandon that aspect and take up a moderate torch. And I'm not uncomfortable.
So she might actually be a Trump supporter today. Is
stating, well, oh God, we'll ponder that in a minute. But
as multiculturalism is a kind of a trigger for what's created, like the Trump phenomenon.
Yes, well, no, multiculturalism is something that started when Clinton was president. I'm pretty sure
it's been around longer than that, but yeah, I mean, it really reached its it really started to come to its adulthood at that point.
I had a tendency to bring home black and Hispanic girlfriends, and she hated all of them. I had a mix of friends of all colors. And the very first question she asked Bronwyn when she met her for the first time was, "You're not Puerto Rican, are you?" It deeply offended Bronwyn. She was very upset and disappointed. I was embarrassed. She never used the N-word, okay? She never used any racial epithets. That was the talk of the uncivilized to her. She would never use those words. But she railed against, what we would call today, like special interest groups or lobbies or certain protections put in place for blacks or Hispanics or all the racial unrest, especially in New York that we had, and affirmative action. And she was very vocal about it. It would make her mad. But as I said, she considered herself a lifelong Democrat. She supported Israel and she hated Muslims. And this was back in the 80s and 90s. She railed against, like,
she was
political
basically
correctness.
A moderate Republican.
Yeah, but God, you would never call her that. That would be like calling her.
Well, actually, now it's like she wouldn't even be a moderate Republican. She'd be a Trump supporter.
I don't think she really cared for Donald Trump. She detested Reagan, but she never lost a job under Reagan, and her taxes went down. I remember she got her first American Express card when Reagan was president, a card that she would lose, as well as suffering a heavy tax audit under Bill Clinton, which I find interesting. Now, I think she switched to moderate politics or even strain of conservative politics during the time of Bill Clinton, even though she voted for him twice. She would have been she was probably reactionary because of all the problems we had in New York. I mean, remember when David Dinkins was mayor and the city was going to hell?
Right.
She hated Dinkins because, for the most part, she hated black people in politics. She didn't like the black people in positions of power, and yet she still considered herself a liberal. Also, she was quite religious. She prayed all the time. She read the Bible, and she was highly educated, gifted writer, extremely intelligent. If I remember correctly, we first moved up to New York in February of 1988, and Koch was still mayor, right?
Yes.
Then Dinkins ran, I guess, the next year, and he ran against Giuliani, right? And Giuliani lost, but Dinkins only served the one term, and I think a lot of it had to do with that. All the unrest that was happening.
Oh, there was a
crime
ton
was
of
up.
stuff. I mean, Koch had been rather a disaster. He let a lot of stuff get out of hand.
Right.
And Koch was a good guy. My dad knew him. You know, he was a decent fella, but he wasn't like the greatest mayor ever.
He was kind of a celebrity mayor. He was like.
He reminds me of the mayor from the Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Before I got into I wanted to ask a little bit about your background, and your family on the politics. But you said that your dad knew Ed Koch personally.
He did.
Did he vote for him?
To be honest, I don't know. It's entirely possible.
I was the subject of ire in the House because I voted for somebody that my mother didn't vote. It was for
Al D'Amato.
Senator. Okay, I voted for Alphonse D'Amato over Elliot Spitzer.
I was right. Holy shit.
What? About what? Give it a second.
I finished your sentence. Like, I voted for it, and I said Al D'Amato. I'm like, okay.
Oh, okay. My mother said she was voting for Elliot Spitzer. She loved Elliot Spitzer. I don't know why.
Spitzer's a douchebag.
But I liked Al D'Amato because he was another guy who was brash. He was very loud. He told people to shut up. You know, people didn't like Al D'Amato, but I liked him. I thought he was just cute as a button. But
and I remember, Noah was going through a phase at that point. Like, it wasn't when Elliot Spitzer it was when Al D'Amato actually lost, and he lost to Schumer.
fucking.
And like
Schumer.
Noah comes to me, he's like, Al D'Amato was a fascist. And I'm like, he is? Why? Like, he wants students in school to actually have to go there and pass. And I'm like, fuck, really? I'm like,
Noah said that? Wow.
Yeah, this is like honestly, if you ask me about it,
oh my God, he wants students to go to school.
Yeah, I know. Can you believe it? And he actually expects to like show up and shit. Like, wow. Fuck.
Okay, so Schumer was against that. He was against that idea. He was like,
it was
kids shouldn't go to school.
It was a bunch of crap. Yeah, that's totally some kind of nonsense that they were.
I don't know how you feel about this, but I would say that after 4 years of Dinkins and watching the riots and all the crime and the escalation and the drugs, that I think Giuliani did a fantastic job.
He was necessary, and I have my issues with Giuliani. I have a number.
Look at what he did for the city.
He did a lot of good, but he did it so quickly. This is where my issue comes in, that he kind of got bored and started going after these quote unquote quality of life issues that started to affect me, and I didn't like that. My father was always a Republican. He was more of a party guy than I was. I say he's always a Republican, but he worked for the Johnson administration. He wrote speeches for Lyndon Johnson.
So he was a Democrat.
Lyndon Johnson was a Democrat. My father was a Republican.
And he wrote for a Democrat, though.
Yeah, well, that was just part of the whole uniparty thing that we're trying to fight with Trump at this point. My father had some uniparty-leaning tendencies that I think after things had come to a head post-Obama, he and I would have had some serious knockdown drag. Like, because he and I had some serious arguments about the Patriot Act back in the day.
Oh, okay. Wait, where were you?
I always leaned more libertarian than my father did.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, that's interesting. I always thought that if there were arguments, it would be between libertarians and Democrats, not necessarily libertarians and Republicans.
Oh no, there's look, both of the major parties are against real libertarianism. I'm not talking about capital L Libertarian Party, where it's all about legalizing drugs.
So you said you had arguments with your father about this.
I did. Yes, I had a number of arguments about the Patriot Act, and I didn't think that it was a good idea. I thought it was crazy to be trusting George W. Bush with such crazy powers. Not even because even if you did say that it was okay to trust George W. Bush with it, if at that point we were talking about Hillary was going to be the next president, I was like, do you think she's just going to give up that power?
Yeah, exactly.
Give that power to the executive so that every executive could have it, like, because it's going to be like next week some other executive you don't trust is going to have it. So why would you advocate for it? I don't believe in the party. I believe that the founders were correct in.
So you think that he would go for like a Cruz or a Rubio?
I think right now he would be on the Trump wagon, but I think
really, I mean,
he and I would have had massive disagreements.
I don't know. Well, you see all these old pictures. They've been showing a lot of old pictures lately of Donald Trump, Hillary and Bill, Michael Bloomberg, and people like that, and pictures of him with Ed Koch, and they're all like buddies. They act like buddies.
Right.
And they're all hanging out together and playing golf and shit. And that kind of stuff really gets under my skin. I don't like seeing that. I don't care. The Hitler stuff doesn't bug me nearly as much as that.
Trump would tell you, that's the kind of stuff that he had to do. He had to rub noses with these guys, hobnob with these guys in order to get stuff done. It's business. It's the way shit works. These guys are the mafia, and he needs to rub noses with them. It's the way it goes. And I understand that. I know how it goes. If you want to read an interesting book on it, a very, very interesting book. It's a book about how to do business during the Nazi occupation in Germany. It's called The Vampire Economy, and it is so relevant to how to do business in the United States today. It is scary.
Now, my grandfather was he was a paratrooper. He landed in France in the Ardennes. He had everyone in his platoon died except for him because he buried himself in the snow 6 feet deep. He killed Nazis. He bayoneted them to death. He did everything he could to survive, and he made it through. And he got the Bronze Star, and he got the Purple Heart because he was injured. Lost his dog tags. Was captured by his own people. They had to basically, I guess, check and verify who he was before he was released out of a prison. Now the thing is, I didn't want to bring up the whole Trump is Hitler thing, but I did want to say one thing.
Yeah,
I've known people who survived concentration camps. I knew a couple of people who were survivors, and I knew a very interesting old lady who lived on my block. And I used to have to. I would get her mail for her. I would get groceries for her. This old woman was a French woman, and she was very old. And it was one day that she told me that she was in the French resistance during Nazi-occupied France. Mm-hmm. And she would do things like throw Molotov cocktails through windows. She would steal weapons. She tortured soldiers. She bedded down high-ranking members of the SS, take information from them, and kill them. And she told me all these stories. She's like an 85-year-old woman, and I'm listening to all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, my God. This is so intense and really kind of sexy when you think about it. She showed me some pictures of what she looked like back in those days, and she was really hot. Now, to call Trump Hitler is the most disgusting, egregious thing I've ever heard in my life. It's not anything new, too, because people did this with Bush. They did this with Obama. Yeah. They called these people, and when you call someone who's running for office Hitler, you're calling the people who vote for him Nazis, and that. Yes. I'm seeing like these people calling, and I'm seeing Jewish people too, whose families were killed by Hitler, calling Trump a Nazi. This is the most ridiculous, horrible fucking thing I've ever heard. I'm not a fan of Donald Trump myself. You don't call people Nazis. You don't do that. This is the most horrible thing I've ever heard.
It's foolishness the way they've done it. They've got a picture of him like holding one hand up. It's like, and I can get a picture of that of Bernie.
You can get a picture of Obama doing that. You can get a picture of Martin Luther King doing that.
It's foolishness. And at the end of the day, Trump is a nationalist. There's no doubt about that. All right, but and Democrats, liberals in this country have a reflexive anti-nationalist thing because Nazis were also they were radical environmentalists and radical animal rights activists. Are those people Nazis? Because seriously, if you have one characteristic of the Nazis, are you a Nazi? Because if you are, then PETA is a Nazi group, and Greenpeace is a Nazi group.
Yeah, this is true. But you do know that we do call certain people, certain groups, Nazis. Like you know how we refer to feminazis, feminist Nazi types. We refer to
that's more, but that's not like a
Bloomberg.
Thing, like
Bloomberg. We called him a food Nazi. He was like, Nazi is it's an ideology, yes, but it's also an image. So when you think about Nazis, you think about Hitler, you think about concentration camps, you think about gas chambers, you think about stuff like that. So do we know? I mean, like I asked you before, that people don't want to admit to truths politically. We are now approaching a very dangerous time where we're seeing these millennials who are putting their hands to their ears and refusing to listen to a lot of things, personal attacks on people based on, the one thing that has them completely freaked out is the idea of climate change or global warming or whatever else. If you don't believe in the doctrine, you are immediately marginalized. You're immediately kicked out of the discussion because either you're a conservative or Republican or you vote for Trump, even though Trump really hasn't said much. He hasn't really had much to say about the whole climate change thing. And it's happening all over the world.
He's addressed it. Yeah. No. It is happening all over the world. Well, that is
and it shouldn't,
really,
because it's none of the world's business. It's our country's business.
Well, it's an example of the oligarchs of the world putting forth an idea, and a lot of people, way too many, buying into it. And the thing is, though, it's not working. That's why they're getting so frustrated and why they're doing that. It's not working.
This was our main subject for this episode, the New York State primary. I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Now, this is really, your Bernie Sanders is just like, it's on the order of Kevin Pollak doing a Peter Falk Columbo impersonation.
Excuse me. One more question.
It's like how I do Christopher Walken. Sometimes he talks like this,
Yeah.
How industrious. But this is interesting. Okay, Bernie Sanders won the majority of the counties in New York State. I checked this really cool interactive map. Of course, Hillary took New York City.
He won all the upstate little counties.
He won a lot of them. I mean, he actually won. Well, she took Queens, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Staten Island. Brooklyn is interesting because Bernie's from Brooklyn. He couldn't even win his home borough.
Right.
And Nassau and Suffolk, Ulster, Westchester. She took Orange and Rockland. And then she took the big cities up there. She took Erie, Monroe, and Onondaga counties, which is like where Buffalo and Syracuse are.
Right.
Now, and Rochester. She didn't get Albany, which I found interesting. Bernie got the rest, including he got my former home, Putnam County.
And I'm sure he won Ithaca, or I forget.
Yeah. He got Ithaca too. Yeah. He got everything but those places I just mentioned. But you obviously these are much smaller population centers, and there's less delegates, and all of them go to Hillary's column. The way the DNC worked it out, they didn't flip any coin or anything. They were obviously planning for Hillary to win, regardless. Now, Trump won New York State lock, stock, and barrel, everything.
He killed it.
And we know why. We know why. It was because of Cruz's comments about New York values. You know that New Yorkers...
That was a large part of it, yeah.
New Yorkers are like, what did that guy say? I mean, the freaking Daily News had the Statue of Liberty with a middle finger aimed at Cruz, and then somebody else... I think some other thing said something about F.U. Cruz, and it actually said it on the paper. So now we have allegations in my state, the great state of New York, of voter disenfranchisement, right? Voter names disappearing from rolls, bad equipment, late openings.
I've read a lot of little articles on that, and it's definitely compelling.
There are no laws on the books when it comes to primaries. Primaries are just basically and they're just exclusively an exercise of the parties.
Yes.
So, I mean, there are laws regarding elections, of course, but this really stinks. This whole thing. Do you have any idea how this could happen? I mean, are we looking at like kind of a situation like we saw? Like, remember, okay, what was it? Was it the 2004 election in Ohio between Bush and Kerry? Lots of bad stuff going down in Ohio.
Yeah, right.
And
I've never trusted the voting in New York. I always thought that something was going on. And growing up, working, my parents worked the polls when I was a kid in the 80s for presidential elections. And I spent a lot of time over there. And we used to observe the Democrats cheating.
What do you mean? Tell me a little bit about that.
They would let people vote several times. Like they would let people get back in and keep voting and keep voting and keep voting and like that.
Are you talking about general election or primary?
Yeah, general election.
Okay.
This was back in like 88, I think, or something like that. Back Reagan. They were trying to get like the people. They had all the Democrat people there in that particular polling station were all people from the projects down the road, and they would just have their people roll up in like half in the bag, fucked up, and like fucking keep on voting and voting and voting and voting.
Okay. Well, this I'm no expert on this, but this sounds like it might be illegal to do that.
That is illegal.
Right.
It's a federal offense, but nobody was looking, and that nobody was going to do anything about it. That became evident because my dad was trying to stop it, and they were it was an issue. It was an issue. Well, and so I've seen that go on. But in terms of ideological folks trying to cheat, it's hard to say which one would be the one that would prevail in that. But Hillary, has a machine in New York, and Bernie doesn't.
I so hate politicians. I cannot tell you how much I hate politicians.
I agree with you.
Like, I did want to talk a little bit about the election with you especially over in Michigan, because I do know that they went completely for Bernie. And did you vote in the primary?
Yep.
And who did you vote for? Did you vote for Bernie?
Bernie. Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, why not Hillary? Tell me.
Well, I'll support either or both of them. If Hillary decides to bring Bernie on, if House frees over and she wants to bring him on as vice president, I'm with her vice president. I'm cool with that.
But you're completely against the other side of the aisle. There's nobody there that appeals to you. Not even Mr. Trump. he's laughing.
Gee, let me think. No.
not even Mr. Cruz there. Well, they really like Cruz over here in New York. No, I'm just kidding. They completely hate him. But Bernie Sanders was born in Brooklyn.
Yep.
He, by all accounts, everything I have seen, and I look at off media, I look at alternative media sources, I'm seeing an enormous amount of support for this man, and he is getting nowhere with the Democratic Party, and it doesn't make any sense to me other than Debbie Wasserman Schultz is firmly in Hillary's camp, and everything they're doing is to keep him out, because he has said he's not doing any media,
right.
He is like Trump, very much sort of operating outside of this media scope. And you see, why is it? Like, I have an enormous question, which is, why is it that if Trump and Hillary are two of the most hated people to be running for president, yet they're doing so well?
Right.
Now, I realize Trump has Cruz and Casey, and those guys, God, I really, Ted Cruz is the guy I just, oof.
There's two things that always just stun me. One is how many people I know that vote Republican that do so because it has everything to do with their own pocketbook, which I get to a certain degree. But I also notice that those people tend to lie about it and say that it's about social issues when it's really not. It's really about money.
It's interesting, yeah.
And then the other side of it is that the social issues piece of it is just so terrible. Like, every Republican is so awful and so sexist and so racist and so disgusting. I don't understand how anyone could affiliate themselves with them, but that's just me. Bernie overwhelmingly beat Hillary Clinton. I'm not a Hillary.
Yes, I saw that. That was the only state he took, right?
Yeah, and that was shocking to me. I was surprised he didn't take other states. And then the other side.
And he took Michigan too, which I thought was interesting because Michigan is a state that has suffered
so terribly
from the hands of both Democrat and Republican corruption.
Agreed.
I mean, I don't know why that woman is still running the EPA after what happened in Flint.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. It's terrible.
So crazy. Yeah, yes, there's so much that could be said about Michigan in general, but in Rhode Island, Trump won the Republican primary by a landslide.
I think what it really comes down to, and this is why I don't consider myself a member of either party, is that they're both willing to do the same exact things to get elected.
What was so awful and so shocking about it is like, what is this really happening? And I guess it was.
I think Bernie is like the Al Gore in this situation. And I really feel that Bernie is way, way more popular because I only know one or two people who are voting for Hillary.
Well, I hear you, but I always have to remind myself that who I know doesn't, by any stretch of the imagination, have anything to do with what the American people are doing, because I don't know anyone that would support Trump. But lots of people are doing it.
I can't imagine anybody support. I mean, what do you think of the whole? I mean, I think a lot of this comes down to, if it comes to Hillary, like, right? What is your opinion on Benghazi? I mean, and things like that, and the server, and this her bizarre behavior. And
I do think she's look. I'm not like some people I know who are pro Bernie are really anti Hillary, and there's like. And I can't help. I don't want to just immediately yell sexism when I hear that, but I can't help but feel a little bit like that. It's so vicious. Like the response is so vicious. It's not like, oh, I don't like her. It's like really vitriolic. And I don't believe anything she's ever done quite warrants that. I mean, she's a politician with the best of them. And she's, very much establishment. So, yeah. And so that's why I'm not a Hillary Clinton fan.
Well, this goes into my question now. What do you think about the idea of just eliminating Democrat and Republican, just doing establishment, non-establishment?
Well, now you might as well start saying that you're party fluid.
Party fluid. Yes. I guess I swing both ways.
But
on
I mean, seriously, in a weird way, it's an odd parallel, because I really think that we come from this very binary kind of society.
On, off, one or two.
Everything is good,
like
bad,
black,
white, Republican, Democrat, it is what it is. But we're really experimenting. Like when you were talking about those kind of other monikers for all of the different gender identity things, I was thinking about how what we're doing is we're throwing spaghetti at the wall right now to see what sticks. I mean, we're really in a very experimental phase of allowing new things. And we don't really know how to do that because we've never done anything that isn't just one thing or the other. It was like this big laugh initially, right? Like Trump
They were like, hey, Trump's running for president.
Let's get every shred of footage we can on this guy and put it on every station. And so all the people were seeing was Trump, 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 Trump. And many people were laughing, but many people were like, hey. And now it's like the media created this huge thing that they can't undo. They can't turn that giant ship around. I mean,
also, I'd hate to break it to the American public, but just because you don't like a guy on a personal level doesn't mean he can't do a bang-up job.
That's right. That's also true. Absolutely. I mean, I don't like Mitt Romney, and I don't think I would have wanted him as a president, but you could argue he's done some decent things in the state of Massachusetts.
Everyone has done at least one decent thing. Yeah. In all likelihood, it seems like the nomination's going to go to Hillary.
It does.
This is how I see it now.
Believe it yet, but
what do you think of the possibility, this has been floated, of Sanders possibly going on an independent ticket?
Independent voters really are the middle, right? They're the middle. The independent voters make up everything from the Green Party to the Tea Party.
Right.
Everything in between. And all those people are not voting for the same person.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Well, if you have the two choices.
Because someone runs on an independent ticket doesn't mean they're going to take every independent vote.
Well, it's like I always consider myself kind of a libertarian. I don't know if I do anymore because the Libertarian Party has really gone downhill. But they are running for president. And are you really going to, if you're a registered voter out there, ready to vote in November, are you going to? Why would you throw your vote away? If you try to vote for somebody who's in like in one of the smaller parties, like you mentioned, you're just throwing it away. It's not going anywhere.
I agree with you. I mean, I think that we can shout about it all we want, but as it stands, we have a two-party system. You know, the other parties only exist to represent the nuances of those parties.
Or to take votes away. Like I'm convinced that a lot of what happened in 2000 had a lot to do with Ralph Nader. You know.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about that. I mean, I was a Nader supporter during that time, and I felt like there was an intelligent way to support Ralph Nader, and it was about trying to push diversity in the ticket, really, to say like we are not satisfied with two candidates.
Yeah.
And it was, you know,
but the message is lost, unfortunately, because
it was lost because of the way things went down. I mean, what people wanted, what smart Nader supporters wanted, was people in states where it wasn't going to make a difference to vote for Nader so that he would get enough percentage of the vote to keep him on the ticket, right? Whereas, you know, to understand that in swing states it was important to vote for a different candidate. You know what I mean?
The winners never consider the people who didn't vote for them. Like, for instance, when Obama was elected in 2008, the first election, it was almost overwhelming. It was overwhelming. It was almost, it might be what you would have called a landslide, though it wasn't particularly. But he did win by a great majority over McCain. But then in the second election in 2012, he didn't win by that much.
No, he didn't. It was quite
And it's
divided.
sort of like the same, I guess, with George W. Bush and John Kerry, although I'm convinced that Kerry kind of threw the election, if you will.
Kerry was the worst.
Yeah.
God.
But they never say that 49% of the population didn't vote for you, Mr. President. How does that make you feel? And the president would say, well, I feel kind of bad. I'd like to really, tell them that I'll try to do a good job. But they never do that. They're always like, we won. This is a referendum. This is everybody loves me. That's how they all think. And I don't like that.
Yeah, I hear you, what you're saying. I guess I just think that there's sort of like this thing, well, can't please all the people all the time. All I can do is work for the people that did vote me into office.
I have a question, okay? And it's like, I don't know, you'll probably answer this question right away, but the question is Hillary Clinton a psychopath? This is the issue. She really, I'm not even joking here. Right. She really demonstrates certain traits of psychopathy and sociopathy as well. Right. And I've noticed this looking at her, looking at the way she presents herself, the way she carries herself, the kinds of words she uses, and the reactions that she has when people bring things up. They point to lack of empathy. Okay, and I bring this up because at the Benghazi hearings, she, for some reason, while being questioned under oath, she started laughing.
Oh, yeah.
And she laughed and laughed, and the person questioning her is looking at her and saying, why are you laughing? There's nothing funny about what I just said.
Right.
In this situation, you have a handler or an assistant who will come up to you and whisper in your ear and say, 4 people died. It's probably not a good idea to laugh. Yeah. And then she clears up. She clear her throat and try to maintain a serious composure, right?
Right.
But she kept laughing. Now, not only that, but her staff, certain people on her staff, especially, there's a guy that they interviewed, one of her IT people who set up her server, a very smarmy dude. And he laughed, too, and said this whole situation was funny. One of the characteristics of being a psychopath is a lack of empathy.
That's true.
This is the inability to express any kind of sympathy or understanding for anything.
I'm not qualified. I think that they're all, at the very least, sociopaths. I recognize a lot of the similar behavior in Ted Cruz.
I don't know that I've seen it in Ted Cruz. I don't know that I've seen it to that degree in Ted Cruz.
No, well, not to that degree, but he hasn't been involved in anywhere near any of the kind of same stuff that she has. So it's not really fair to lump him into the same thing. But I see, I see a lot of the lack of listening, a lot of there's some similar qualities there. It's kind of scary a little bit. I don't know. I really don't know. I think the Clintons are just a really fucked up couple of people. The whole family and the daughter's no better. I mean, they're a mess, dude. They don't belong anywhere near the controls of the country.
I was to use a very familiar phrase. I was deeply offended by something that happened at a town hall meeting with Hillary Clinton, where the mother of one of the victims at Benghazi blamed her, essentially, for the death of her son. Mm-hmm. And she actually says, "You're wrong."
Yeah, you're wrong.
She says this to this woman.
Yeah, I know. She called her a liar, too.
Called her a liar, said this is not how normal people behave.
No.
If somebody died, if 4 people died on my watch or your watch, or any of the real flesh and blood people that we know.
Them. Even if they were off base, you would still be deferential. Because that's the human thing to do.
I seriously wouldn't be able to sleep at night. I would be racked with guilt. I would not laugh at a hearing investigating my actions.
Right.
I would not do any of those things. And this just seems really to be, you want a president who, even if they're not empathetic, can at least fake it. And this, I feel that Hillary Clinton cannot even fake concern.
Right.
And, Obama is very good at acting. He's very good at behaving like he's concerned. George W., too.
Yeah.
I would say even Bill Clinton.
No, Bill Clinton is a past master, although now he's old. And there's a big question as to whether or not he really wants her to win, because he doesn't seem to be really advocating very well for her at all.
No, he's not supporting the party either.
No, he doesn't like Obama at all. He thinks Obama's a fucking like his words were back in 2008 was 10 years ago, or this guy would have been bringing us coffee. He's like, who the fuck is this guy?
What the
that's what he said.
Did seriously he say that?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Oh my God.
He said that to Ted Kennedy. I think it was Ted Kennedy. He said that too. He's like, this guy would have been brilliant. And I do not think he meant that in a racial manner.
Lordy, freshen your drink.
But I think he meant that because Obama had been on the scene for about 10 minutes. He's right. When you take away the racial component that everybody's brain immediately goes to, and
that's where mine went. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But when you take that away, it actually does make sense just on another plane of, who the fuck is this guy? He hasn't even been here. He's been in the Senate. He was just elected to Senate 5 minutes ago.
Well, yeah.
And now he's running for president. Who the fuck is this guy?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to advance an idea on you, and I know you're going to laugh.
Yeah.
Because I told my wife this idea too, and she was like, she didn't laugh. She just sort of scoffed at me. She's she got a master's degree in scoffing.
Okay.
But okay, this is my idea. Let's look into the future, shall we? Instead of presidents, we have
heads in jars, like in Futurama.
Head in charge, severed head in charge.
Yes, severed head.
It would be like a Charles Band movie. Okay,
severed head of Richard Nixon. I am not a crook.
That's very good. Now, my idea was this. Let's treat America like a small town. Small towns usually have a board of selectmen or select persons. Okay, now listen to this. Okay. 6 persons, okay? 3 women, 3 men. 3 rich, 3 poor. 2 white, 2 black, 2 Hispanic, 3 gay, 3 straight. Now, what do you think of this idea? I went with white, black, Hispanic because those are the primary populations. And right away, my wife is like, "What about Chinese people?" Okay, well, we'll figure that out later. But think about it like this: or what about the Muslim population and all that stuff, or
what about the
gay Eskimos?
What about fucking transgenders? What about the next group that the left decides gets special shit? What about them?
Would my idea not put an end to a lot of the one thing that people bitch about is a lack of representation. Now I have 6 people here, okay, and I got 3 of them are men, 3 of them are women.
What are those people going to do?
They will all confer. They'll sit at a big table. They'll all confer like the Supreme Court.
Instead of a president?
Instead of a president, you have these 6 people. It's like a Supreme Court kind of a thing, except it's politics.
See, my problem with that is...
and I forgot. 3 establishment and 3 non-establishment.
Well, we're buying into the ability of... You see what you're doing there, and the problem is...
Okay.
The left loves to talk about this all the time, but they're right. It's like you can't just like slap a label on something and call it that like, oh, you're an anti-establishment. Okay, you can be one of the 3 anti-establishment people. Like, but what does that mean? Because like you take, I run into this problem all the time. It's the problem that I have with Ted Cruz supporters. What does the word conservative actually mean? Because Ted Cruz is a conservative and Donald Trump is not. Well, what the fuck does that even mean? Because like all of these conservatives have gone to Washington and done a lot of non-conservative stuff. So like, why should I trust Ted Cruz? Because he's a conservative and Donald Trump is actually leading on conservative issues, but he's not a conservative. Like, I mean,
keep doing that voice and it's just hysterical.
You sound like Admiral Akbar. That's a trap.
Not a conservative.
It's a trap.
Well, I mean, Bronwyn's issue was that, well, you're kind of like you're putting these people into separate groups, and
that's the
kind
problem. Group. Yeah.
And I was like, well, how the hell else are people going to come together and realize that we're kind of like all in the same boat here? We should probably, I don't know. That's what and also I had a problem.
That's what we need to do is we need to stop being, we need to stop this us and them stuff.
We need to be making more stuff in this country. We need to be, this is something that really sticks with me, like things about cell phones and stuff like that. I feel like we should be making cell phones in this country. I don't know why we don't.
I agree. And, a lot of the conservatives will tell you that you can't do that. It's not possible. The iPhone will cost $2,500 if we do that.
Yeah.
And it's like horse shit, the iPhone. The iPhone will cost a little bit more. But you know what? If we do the right things here, we make the right reforms, we stop crawling up everybody's ass with a microscope for stupid nonsense environmental stuff that doesn't mean anything to anybody, like that would help, and it would bring more stuff back here. Doesn't mean we need to pollute everything, but it just means we need to be reasonable and run a cost-benefit analysis on everything we do. Like, how about that? Is that okay with everybody?
That's pretty good. I'm going to run America the Beautiful against that.
Cost benefits.
Radon Chung Chaka. All right, let's get on to our next subject, which would possibly be able to. We just had the elections, right? And this
we didn't just have the elections.
I'm sorry, we just had the primaries. I think somebody slipped me the blue.
Wow.
Anyway, Lawrence Fishburne is now president, right? No? President Fishburne? No president?
No.
Who is it? President Reeves? President Schwarzenegger? Who?
Still.
All right, so, this is an historic occasion where I get to talk to my wife about politics for about 5 seconds before she grows bored. Because I have been talking politics with everyone, and they've given me their 2, 3, 4, 5, and case quarter cents of this, of this latest the political spectrum and all that. So a lot of people like to know. Well, I wonder what Bronwyn thinks. What does your wife think about this crap?
No, they don't want to know that. You're making that
up. They don't want to. No, they do. What does Bronwyn think about this crap? What does Bronwyn think about what's going on around here? And Bronwyn is like the man on the mountain that everybody comes up to seek wisdom.
I'm the high llama. No, that's not.
No, you're the low llama. You're very short. See what I did there? Okay, so what do you got? You got, on the Republican side, you got Donald Trump, John Kasich with his lips and his disgusting manner of eating food, according to Donald recently. And you have Ted Cruz, who is a vampire. And then on the Democratic side, you got Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. And you know all these people. You know all of them. You've seen them all.
The Kasich person does not sound that familiar.
He's
to
like
me.
An Ohio dude. He's from Ohio. He's from my home state.
And I watched the information about the Republican primaries, and for some reason I forgot about that guy.
So, okay, but you did know a couple of the other people who were in it before they left, like Chris Christie.
Of course.
And who's the other guy? Who? Come on. Jeb Bush, right? He was a Bush guy. Now, as you know, you've been reading about this, and you know that what we're seeing is kind of a war between establishment and non-establishment.
Really? So you're talking about Trump being non-establishment?
And also on the other side, Sanders.
Okay. So who would be the establishment?
The
then?
establishment candidates would be like Cruz and Clinton.
Okay, I guess that makes
you know,
sense.
we can talk about Kasich. It's just that he's such a footnote right now. No one cares. No one's voting for him. People are barely voting for Cruz. Trump and Sanders seem to be energizing this voting base because they're talking about non-conventional ideas. They're not political insiders. So a lot of people are drawn to that, and they really like it quite a bit. I know a lot of people who are voting for Sanders. I know maybe 1 or 2 people are voting for Clinton, and a lot of people also are voting for Trump. So, have you had any conversations with anybody about this? Has anyone told you specifically if they're going to be voting for anybody?
Actually, no. I mean, like coworkers and friends and stuff. No one's.
No one said anything.
Not to me.
That's very interesting. Why do you think that is? Is it because Mrs. Bronwyn Knox is not terribly interested in politics and she just wants to rock and roll all night? All she wants to do is dance and party every day? Is that really what it is?
I don't know. But I mean, even like just...
Give to me your leather, take back from me my lace.
Yeah. The random chit-chat that I hear with people, I'm not hearing anything about politics, but I never did. I mean, I've been working in the same place a long time, and nobody really said too much.
Let's get a sense of
those elections, like when Obama...
Let's get a sense of your family, your political history, that kind of stuff. When was the first time you voted?
The first time I was old enough to was when Clinton ran the first time.
92.
Bill Clinton ran the first time, 1992, right? So I was 20.
Did you vote?
I did, yeah. I was excited to vote. I was happy to do that.
You were happy to vote, really? I was too. Exciting. I was sold this bullshit as well. As my mother told me, you have to vote. You have to get out there. Get your voice heard. And I'm like, why? Because you know me. I'm lazy. I don't want to get up. I don't want to go anywhere.
And
Bill Clinton, and the voting place was a block away from where I lived.
Bill Clinton did a good job at the time of appealing to younger age groups.
That's right, MTV.
Right?
He played a sax on Arsenio.
You didn't treat it like it was separate. Like, here's what young people do and here's what adults do, which is politics and voting. He treated it like it was all part of one thing, which was, I guess it was a wise move.
He didn't condescend to the younger people, but the thing is...
Well, maybe he did, but...
Why is it now that these kids... Ugh, I said that.
These kids, you old man.
Why are these kids... I mean, we were 20 when we voted. How is it that we got off our asses and voted? Was it because of that MTV generation? Because of all that? And these millennials today who are also in their 20s are just not coming out. They're not coming out for the guy they keep saying is brilliant, like Sanders.
They're not coming out for Bernie Sanders? Really?
No,
I was
not.
under a different impression that they were.
He holds these wonderful, enormous rallies, and then these people forget. Oh, wait, yeah, I got to vote in a primary. Oh, that was yesterday? Oh, never mind. No, they forget.
I don't know.
Reagan is the closest analog you have to a Trump right now. Republicans hate Trump. The establishment hates him. A lot of your hardcore voters, your hardcore Republican voters hate Trump. And I don't know. I feel sometimes I get the indication. I think Andrew's... Sometimes I think he's living in a fantasy world if he thinks that people are actually going to... I really don't think Trump's going to win this election. I think it's going to be Clinton.
Well, what if he does? I mean, I think that would be pretty
that's fine
extraordinary.
too. I mean,
it's not like I want him to, but I would just be curious to see what happened. This is the most interesting election time that we've had since back when Al Gore was running and he lost to Bush.
Even though he had 500,000 more votes.
Whenever someone's being reelected, that's boring because chances are it seems that they're going to be reelected. Like that's going to happen. But now when we're in this stage where both parties are putting up a new person, this has always been the most interesting election time, and I've never seen anything like this.
You know
before.
what this reminds me of? This reminds me of a previously successful baseball team that is loaded with veterans that are all now retiring, and you have to start a brand new lineup.
Okay.
It's sort
nice
of
analogy.
like the 94 and 95 Yankees when Mattingly retired and Derek Jeter started. So it's a whole new thing happening here. We're not quite sure what's happening, and we're nervous about it.
I mean, the most boring thing that could happen would be, I guess, if Ted Cruz was elected. If Clinton was elected, that could be interesting, too, because, you know, she's a woman. But the other thing is, have you been telling other people when you've been having these conversations, your ideas that she might be arrested for murder? Have you talked about that?
A lot of people. Well, the thing is, a lot of the liberals and the Democratic people that I've spoken to have heard my theories on this, and they refuse to accept it.
Okay.
I'm not even talking about the possibility that a number of people are in their graves because of the Clintons. Today, what I'm talking about is what happened in Benghazi and how, basically on her watch 4 people died. And I talk a lot about her seemingly psychotic behavior. She seems to have no skill at empathy. She calls victims liars. Little things like that make me wary. I don't like that. But on the other side of the coin, I don't like Trump's attitude. I don't like the way he carries himself. It was like what I was telling you last night. He's like a guy who tells a joke and is watching to make sure everyone laughs at his joke. And if they don't, they're off his list.
His ego.
I feel like he's like a big drunk talker. Like, I think he's going to be the first president who doesn't have a teleprompter. He's just yelling out things, and he's like, he's the guy who said, we're going to win, you're going to get sick of winning. I mean, how do you get sick of winning? I mean, it's like, God, this is boring. I want to lose.
You're going to win so much, you're going to get sick. I don't want to get sick.
I don't want to.
I don't want to puke.
Yeah, that was the jerk. I'm going to buy you a diamond so big, it's going to make you puke.
I don't want to puke. Anyway, I mean, I don't even know.
But the thing is, Trump is saying a lot of things that people
behind
agree
anyone.
with.
There's nobody that I want to vote for. It's depressing. It's interesting, but it's disturbing. And I kind of just want. I keep joking that I'm going to go and write someone in, and you're like, that won't do any good. But
It
I think.
won't. I mean, nobody cares if you write somebody in.
But your theory is to not vote. Your idea is stupid. Not vote. We have the right to vote. If we all start not voting,
you think they're going to be like, well, you don't want to vote, then we're not going to give you the right to vote. You think they're actually going to say that to us?
Not?
There would be anarchy.
As opposed to now? I mean, well, okay, there's not anarchy. I wish, but I mean, I just think that everyone should protest the poor choices that we've been given.
I don't like anybody.
By writing in somebody else. I don't know who that would be.
I can't think of anybody. Don't vote for me. I mean, I took a test the other day, and I'm like 6.
What kind of
according,
test?
what are you, a Democrat or a Republican?
Oh, okay.
And I got something like a 62% Democrat, 38% Republican response back. And I think a lot of it had to do with what I said about, I'm pro-choice, I'm a lot of things, right? But I said, the first thing we need to cut is military spending. And then I said our greatest threat is terrorism. So I don't know how to fucking run this country either.
And then you have to ask yourself, how much are presidents even getting to run the country? Because there's a lot of programs that are in place that are going to continue to be in place, no matter who gets elected. Yeah, you can't just get somebody in there and say, we're not doing that anymore. Cut that out. Cut that, cut that, cut that. Trump makes all these outlandish statements. He's not really going to be accustomed to being in a situation where he can't do much of anything. I don't know what it's like when he's running his companies, because I would imagine they have boards, and the boards tell him you can't do this or that. So maybe he does.
He's another guy that I worry that cannot take no for an answer. Like if you say, no, we can't do this, we physically cannot do this, he's going to be like, why not? And you're going to have to be like talking to him for hours and hours and hours.
To explain why these things are not physically or psychologically possible.
Yes. Yeah. It's like I believe that Trump has been living in Trump land for quite some time now, where he is surrounded by people who always say yes to him. And also, he goes off on weird tangents when he talks. I mean, it's kind of like having a conversation with my mother. She'll just go off on some random topic, or maybe a conversation with me. I don't really know about that.
You said it.
But anyway, I mean, did you see that the Mets want the 8-game winning streak? We're gonna win, and we're gonna destroy ISIS. We're gonna knock the hell out of ISIS, and we're gonna knock the hell out of the Washington Nationals. See, it's like that. It's like crazy. It goes off in one direction or another. You are kind of shaking your head a little bit, trying to figure out what I'm.
Sort of. My mind just kind of.
But this is a conversation with Trump. So.
So that's about it, right?
I guess that's about it. I mean, okay, all right. If somebody held a gun to your head, sorry,
I told
and asked you to name your favorite Prince song, but also told you you had to vote, otherwise you would die. Who would you vote for out of those 5?
I said I would do a write-in. They're horrible.
None of them? What? You think it?
No, I guess
there are bullets in this gun hunt. You better vote for somebody who's one of the 5.
If somebody put a gun to my head, I guess maybe I would pick Sanders because he seems least likely to kill us all.
To kill us
but
all.
I'm still not
Oh, my
all
God.
that thrilled with him.
Oh, wow. You know what? There's a special place in hell for women who do not help other women.
Oh my
because
God.
you just said
I'm not voting for anybody just because they're a woman. These people are people. You have to think of everyone as a person first. That's my thing, and I'm going to stand by that.
Okay. I couldn't have put it better, and I think that's great. I would not vote for any of them. Sorry. I would rather die. I would rather die than vote for any of these five people.
Just be seeing your brain spread out over the wall then, I guess?
Yes,
you refuse to vote.
Yes, I refuse to vote. I refuse. I choose
I don't know.
not to vote.
Is it Rush that made that song, If You Choose Not to Decide, You Still Have Made a Choice?
Yes, it's Rush. Yes.
My name's David.
What does David mean?
David means business, baby.
Since this is our last episode of BlissVille for a little while, we're going on hiatus. It occurs to me most people don't really know my political position. I've had some individual one-on-one conversations with people, gotten to know new people in my life, a lot of them younger than me, a lot of them older than me. My position is I have no position other than that I see these politicians as nothing more than a deviant entertainment. They do not care about you, the voting public. They will not serve you or this nation. They do not care about this nation. They are not concerned. They will only serve themselves. This is something I get into with Andrew once in a blue moon because I sense Andrew is angry. I sense a lot of people are angry and that they choose their candidates with anger. They can't all be Susan Sarandon crying when she brings Bernie Sanders to the podium. Susan Sarandon, while still a very beautiful woman and talented actress, is incredibly wealthy. She has no place in a discussion about politics. Rich people don't have any place in a discussion about relevant social issues, economical issues, climate change, government, or criminal law. They have thrived in this world, where most have withered, eroded, and died. They have choices in life most people don't. I've already made the assertion that Hillary Clinton, with a view toward her behavior, her mannerisms, her eccentricities, is a psychopath, at the very least a sociopath. I believe that Sanders and Trump are not outsiders. For me, anybody who can walk right up to the president and shake his hand and say, "How you doing?" without being forced to the ground and asphyxiated from a chokehold, tased, or anally raped with a nightstick is not an outsider. When you glad hand bigwigs and money changes hands, you are not an outsider. In my view, the Republican Party despises Trump not because they view him as an outsider, but because up until only very recently, he presented himself as a New York City liberal. That's all. 10 years ago, we called that flip-flopping. Hence, Trump is a liar. So who do we have now in our top three candidates for this most prestigious and ultimately pointless job posting of President of these here United States? We have a liar, a psychopath, and an idiot. This is why I don't vote. This is why I view these prospective candidates as nothing more than mindless reality contest entertainment. Other than that, I have no time for them. They are not worth my time. That doesn't mean I don't want to hear what my friends have to say. I like to know how they feel. I want my friends to be happy. I don't want them to be angry. Politicians thrive on your anger. They buy your vote with your anger and give you nothing in return. This is what happens when you elevate ordinary human beings, some with severe emotional and intellectual deficits, to a godlike status. You begin to assume they can perform miracles, that they can change minds and hearts. This is fantasy, on par with Greek and Roman mythology, the Holy Bible, the Quran, and the Talmud. I realize in the Joseph Campbell parlance, we need our heroes, but we're not going to find them in November. In short, you can be the president. I'd rather be the Pope. I want to thank Andrew La Ganke, Eve Kerrigan, Denny Spangler, my wife Bronwyn Knox, particularly for her brilliant artwork. She is truly a gifted artist. Alex Saltz for his contribution to my track Yo Bill at the top of this episode. Fantastic. And Joseph Langham for his wonderful composition from episode 81, Living a Dream. Again, fantastic. At the beginning of this trilogy of episodes, I put in a clip of Kevin Smith sharing a funny story about Prince. Now, some 15 years later, here's a clip of Kevin Smith reacting to the death of Prince and an emotional story about the day his daughter met Prince. After that, the final performance of Purple Rain from Atlanta's Fox Theater. Thank you for listening.
And I always feel bad because about that, like I told that story, but like one of the things I never talked about because it didn't fit into the matrix of telling a funny story was I watched my kid dance with him. He danced with my kid when she was little. She came to Paisley Park on Father's Day, and that was like the second to I think it was the last day we were working on the documentary. And my wife was like, you know, it's your first Father's Day. She's like not that old. You can't miss Father's Day. We're coming out to Minnesota. So she brought the kid out, and her parents came with her. And so they were staying with me in the hotel for like the last few days, and then I brought them to Paisley Park. And, you know, they had basketball set up. So the kid, she was tiny as fuck. She was running around playing with everybody playing basketball. And then at one point, like you know, Prince was there, and I was like, hey, man, like I talked about my kid. This is my kid. And he did the crouch down thing and took her hand and was like, do you like music? And she nodded, and he did the fucking dance thing with her. Fucked up, man. Like, it's so fucking wrong that he's gone. The dude was a magician.
Never gonna call you